Just like all of my guides, I'm going to waste as little of your time as possible. You don't need to learn all of the fancy techniques and have the best in-slot gear to start learning Tombs of Amascut. I'm going to give you all the essential stuff you need to know and none of the fluff, and we're going to do it in some super low budget gear. If you want some mega sweaty optimized TOA run in max gear, you've come to the wrong channel. We're making guides that most players should be able to stick to and get their first few chests looted with here. Here's the inventory that I'm bringing with me. I've got mixed hide armor to minimize my switching between melee and ranged. Bloodbuck or mystic will do the job for your magic set. Either trident, a dragon crossbow, and any stab weapon better than a dragon sword will be plenty good enough for your weapons. You should also bring a dragon dagger as a spec weapon and a Kephri partisan for those bugs. A blowpipe is also extremely useful to deal with some of the mechanics. You can do this with worse gear, so give it a go no matter what you have. You'll need to bring some kind of anti-venom protection. I've got a Sanfu serum, a ranging potion and a super combat potion are useful, and a mixture of brews and restores for your healing and prayer. You'll get given supplies during the raid and extra honeyed locust if you die, which are a stackable health and prayer restoring food, so don't sweat it too much. And you should expect to die on your first few runs, but don't worry about it, you're learning. I have done TOA in months, so I'm out of practice. We'll see if I even survive. I always kill the bosses in the same order, so let's start with Crondis. Is this the most optimal order? I don't know, but I personally like getting the easier bosses out of the way first to tackle the tougher ones with a smelling salt sap boost that you can grab later on in the raid. For the puzzle room, you'll need to pick up the bucket off the floor and get water from the waterfalls to water the central tree before the attacking crocodiles damage it. Avoid the green stuff on the floor and don't get stabbed by the wall spikes. On the left hand side there's a pretty clear route if you can time it correctly. If you're quick, you can get this done in 2 trips, but don't expect to for a first timer. This is a great opportunity to work on your pathing awareness, so try and work out the optimal time to run across for yourself. If you see a crocodile spawn, kill it, and once the tree's grown, we move on to the boss room. For all of these fights, I'm going to assume you've got enough common sense to use your potions and make sure you're ready with enough HP, prayer and stamina. Probably a bit ambitious, but you were smart enough to watch my video, so I've got faith in you. Crondis is a boss that you'll want to use range against. He's got a brutal melee attack, so stay well out of range of that if you can. The bulk of the fight is essentially a prayer switching simulator. His exploding pot is a magic attack and the rock is a ranged attack. This must be prayed against until the hit splat actually appears on your character. He also flicks poison and pots around the arena at random intervals. Don't stand in the poison. He's got 2 special attack phases. The first phase is the raw attack. Poison will show up all around the arena. Again, don't stand in it. You'll also notice rocks and pots around the arena. You'll need to push the pots into the rocks to clear out somewhere safe to stand as fast as you can. When the pots explode, they'll clear out a small area of the poison to make it safe. You can also shoot stationary and moving jugs to make them explode early. If you're not immediately behind the rocks after a short period of time, Zebat will roar and you will die. So probably try as hard as you can to avoid that attack. If you don't manage to get behind a clear barrier, you can out-heal the poison if you absolutely have to. The next special phase is the waves attack. If you've done Dragon Slayer 2 or a Kingdom Divided, you already know how this works. Just don't get caught by the waves. Try and keep moving back and forth to fit in the little gaps, still watching your prayers and avoiding the stuff on the floor. Once he gets to 25% health, his attack speed increases, which is something to be aware of. But other than that, it's a super simple fight. Just keep chipping him away and you'll get him down. Next up is Kephri. You'll need to solve a series of small puzzles before getting to the boss. I would show you how to solve these, but we'd be here all day. You should just turn on the Tombs of Amascut RuneLight plugin and have it basically solved for you. Just do it quickly because you'll be chased by some bugs that will chip away at your health if you don't. Kephri is a melee fight, but you'll be want to using your Krey partisan instead of your primary melee weapon. You'll want to engage Kephri from the corner to make some of her special attacks later in the fight easier to deal with. You'll need to avoid the Vorkarth style fireballs by stepping to the left or right, getting an attack and then stepping back. You'll be able to see where the fireball is going to land by the shadow underneath you. The first special attack you'll have to deal with is the dung piles. You'll get knocked back and you either need to run left or right instantly or you'll get squashed by the poop. This dung is here for the rest of the fight as a permanent barrier, and there will be a few of these by the end of the fight. If you keep making Kephri do these on the same corner, you should only have 1 line of crap to deal with, instead of having the arena split into 3 or 4 sections, which is a nightmare to deal with on solos. The other special attack is the eggs. You can deal with these by destroying them. Some of them explode and some of them hatch little rangers that you need to pray against. I usually just ignore the eggs and pray when the rangers spawn and neglect this entire mechanic. You'll also have to deal with the intermission phases when you get Kephri's shields down. She'll spawn a bunch of minions during this intermission. You'll need to avoid the bomber scarab the whole time, which works just like Kephri's fireball attack. Then deal with the other minions, starting with the magic scarab. This guy will hit you with a burst of up to 65 damage if allowed to charge up. This can be reduced with protection from magic. Then switch to the ranged scarab that will infect you with poison. And finally, deal with the melee scarab that will heal Kephri if left unattended. There are also loads of swarming scarabs that heal Kephri that you can take out with a blowpipe if you bother to bring one, but on entry mode, this is another mechanic I ignore. Kill all of these scarabs with the combat style as per the standard combat triangle weaknesses and you should be fine. There are advanced strategies to trap them with the dung, but we won't go into that here. You'll loop through the normal phase and the intermission phase a few times with various monsters spawning, but that's pretty much all there is to it. With 2 bosses down, you can collect some supplies from the helpful ghost in the central room. This really depends on how short you are on supplies and the luck of what you get offered. Smelling salts are amazing potions, the bandages and scarabs are pretty handy, healing your health and prayer over time, and the potions are obviously just potions, but a welcome healing resource if you're short on supplies. Liquid Adrenaline is a really cool potion that will use your specs use half their usual special attack power. Whilst we're taking our quick break to restock, why don't you like the video, subscribe to the channel and post in the comments about how good my guide is and how knowledgeable, funny, cool and relatable I am. Nice one, thanks. There's not too much to explain in the Akka puzzle room. Bounce the beam of light towards the shield guy using the movable mirrors and mine any rocks that are in your way. Then mine the central pillar until it's at 0 HP. Bringing a decent pickaxe and having a good mining level are useful here. You can even store your pickaxe on these little statues for next time. Avoid the floating smoke balls and the laser light beam and you'll be clear to fight the boss. For the bulk of the boss fight, it's all about making sure you have the right protection prayer up and that you're using the correct attack style. You should be attacking him according to his prayers and paying attention to his attacks. He has a standard melee attack, a brown spike projectile ranged attack, and a red projectile magic attack. Keep the correct prayer up, then switch weapons, then switch gear. At certain points, Akka will become invulnerable. You'll need to kill one of his clones around the arena and then drag Akka to that quadrant the clone was in. You'll only be able to damage him in this quadrant. The other mechanic is the colour and shape mechanic where the icons in the centre will flash and you'll need to remember the order. This is the order of safe quadrants that you'll need to stand in. Make sure you're not taking in the quadrants when they explode or you'll take some big damage. He also does some stuff with these yellow and black orbs. In solos, just stand still and they're completely irrelevant. Just keep avoiding the central blasts, kiting Akka to the dead clone zone, and making sure you're praying and attacking correctly. Once you've weakened him, he'll spawn to one corner of the arena and initiate the dreaded come phase. You'll need to finish him off with melee in this phase whilst avoiding the white orbs that are floating around the arena. The easiest way to do this is just to smash him with whatever damaging spec weapon you have. I've got a dragon dagger. After a few hits, he'll teleport away and you need to follow him to the next area and keep damaging until he drops. We'll be tackling Barbar next, so let's give you a quick run through of the monkey puzzle. Pick up a hammer and these green potions. If the vents have an issue, pour the green potion, and if the supports have an issue, repair them. Whilst all this is going on, you'll need to deal with a bunch of monkeys by praying against them and killing them with the appropriate attack style. I'd love to spend all day telling you about them, but it's probably easier to just have a look at this really useful table I ripped from the wiki. You'll also need to deal with the volatile baboons trying to chase you down and blow themselves up. This room is absolutely the least fun thing about this raid, but you'll get the hang of it after a few goes. You'll want to have protect from melee up this whole fight. He's got 2 main attacks you need to be aware of. The first one is the ground smash shockwave. When he hits the ground, run away from wherever you're standing. He'll do an AoE damage attack in a little diamond shape that you need to be out of if you don't want to take any damage. The other one is the falling rocks and rock throw combo attack. You need to avoid the falling rock by not standing too close to the shadow where it lands. This leaves debris in the arena which you need to immediately stand next to as it mitigates damage from the rock throw attack. He'll also spawn baboons that will attack you and try to open the sarcophagi at the edges of the room. You're probably supposed to do something about that, but you've already got enough on your plate as a learner, so just focus on the 2 attacks previously mentioned and ignore these guys. Twice during the fight, you'll enter the boulder phase. Barbar will launch boulders at you and you need to avoid them by destroying the crack one with range and running through. Make sure to hit up that rigger to boost your range maxed hit. If you can make it all the way to Barbar, you can skip the rest of this phase and begin as normal. You'll always hit your maximum range hit on the boulders so you get your best gear on. A blowpipe is super useful in this phase due to its speed. Keep looping through these phases and he'll eventually die. Once he dies, you can pick up another supply pack from the helpful spirit. Try and make sure you've got at least 1 smelling salt and 1 liquid adrenaline, if you don't have that already from the first satchel. You're ready for the final fight against Wardens now. Wardens is a 4-phase fight, so let's break it down nice and easy for you. In phase 1, you'll want to stand and block the left-hand Warden from being charged up. If you have one of the silk dressings from the supply pack, this is a great place to use it, as you'll take a lot of damage over time from absorbing the orbs. If not, wait until your health gets low and down some brews or the yellow potions from the supply pack. After a while, the UFOs will spawn. Move away from the charging path if you have to avoid these, but whatever you do, don't stand under them or you'll start taking huge damage. You'll also take some damage from the unavoidable attacks you'll receive as a result of the Wardens charging up. Just be sure to keep an eye on your HP. Once you've done enough damage, you'll be on to the second phase. This one is a lot like the Akka fight you've just done. The boss will be vulnerable to one combat style at a time, so you'll need to make sure that you're switching appropriately according to the overhead prayers. The prayers you need to have on can get pretty chaotic. You'll need to use protection from magic against the red skull and protection from range against the normal skull. You'll also need to pray correctly against the special attack. The Warden will disable all players' overhead prayers and fire either a red scimitar melee, a white arrow ranged, or a blue spell magic at you. Depending on the projectile launched, use the according prayer to block it, or high damage will be taken. When the boss's health is below 55%, this special attack is replaced by a dark colour projectile at the player's position. Getting hit by this projectile will encase the player in stone, temporarily preventing them from moving or attacking. You need to make sure you move so this doesn't hit you. If it does, just spam click everywhere and eventually you'll be set free. Whilst all of this is going on, the obelisk in the centre will be firing off all sorts of wacky crap you need to deal with. The floor lights up with energy like a 70s disco that you need to avoid. It'll also shoot out exploding skulls that you need to be well away from when they land. Once you weaken the boss, it'll drop its core, which you need to spec with your best melee gear and weapon. Liquid adrenaline is awesome here, so make sure you use it if you have it. You'll want to get as much damage done as possible, as you can only move to phase 3 when the core is destroyed. When you reach phase 3, get on your best range gear and stand somewhere directly opposite the boss. The main mechanic of this fight is the ground slam. You need to move left, then to the right, and then back to the center to avoid the slams. This is tough at first, but once you get in your muscle memory, it's second nature. A few times throughout the fight, you'll need to kill the red skulls. You need to use melee and there's no attack delay, so you can one-tick these bad boys if you're good enough. If you can get them all, you can deal some pretty big damage to the Warden. If you don't, you'll get damaged by a shockwave attack. Once you get the Warden's health down enough, you'll have phantoms of the 2 earlier bosses, Zebak and Barbar, for some moral support. If you ignored my earlier recommendation to stand on the left, you'll just get Akka and Kephri instead. Joke's on you because I don't know how to deal with these. What a great learning opportunity you've given yourself. Next time, stick to the bloody guide. Barbar is pretty easy to deal with as it simply drops rocks on you that will be avoided automatically if you're dealing with the Warden's floor shockwave mechanic correctly, and for Zebak, you'll just need to switch prayers the same way you did in the original Zebak fight. Once you get the boss's health down again, be ready for the enrage phase. This is pretty chaotic even in entry mode. The back row of tiles will periodically be completely annihilated, so make sure you're nowhere near these. Avoid the shadows on the floor to avoid damage here, and continue to deal with Zebak and Barbar's prayers and falling rocks. Try to stay calm. If you've got ambrosia, blessings or scarabs left over, now's the time to use them. This is the final push, so just stay alive and keep damaging the boss. Once you get the boss down, you're all good. Pick up your loot from the chest at the end. You can get a purple if you're super lucky in TOA, so good luck. Hopefully this guide has given you the confidence you need to send your first TOA and gradually start upping the invocation level. As always, like, comment, subscribe if you made it this far and want to see more from me. Thanks for sticking around. I'll see you next time.